Hey everyone, I'm going to talk about the Garmin InReach Mini, which is this little guy right here. Now this is a two-way satellite communicator that uses the Iridium satellite network. So in English that means you can send and receive text messages on 100% of the Earth where you don't have cell phone service. And that comes in handy, obviously, just to say hello and tell your family you're doing okay. But you can also do SOS messages, right? So you can communicate with first responders. And not only can you send messages, but you can receive messages. So worst case scenario, you're in an emergency situation, maybe there's a medical situation, you can have a two-way text conversation with first responders and deal with it. So very, very cool, and it's obviously super small, lightweight. It barely takes up any room in your pack. It weighs about the same as a deck of cards. In addition to the messaging, you can also get weather reports on this. You can do some basic navigation, but I wouldn't use it for navigation. I'll talk about that later. And you can do tracking, so you can allow people to follow your path wherever you are, even if you're outside of cell phone range. Now, I'm going to go over all the features in this video, and I'm going to give you my experiences using them and my thoughts on what, how to use them best. But this is meant to be a companion piece to the website. So go to hikingguy.com, and I have all of the details on this device, including links, setup guide, subscription links, all that fun stuff there. But just, as an overall thought, I really love this. I used to use the InReach Explorer all the time, and for some people that might be a better option, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But I've been using this, I've been testing it for a couple months, but I use it all the time on everything from, short hikes, long hikes, backpacking trips. This is great. So let's start digging in and talking about this in detail. Now Garmin makes two flavors of the InReach right now. The Mini, of course, and this is the InReach Explorer, which has been out for a while and is an evolution of the DeLorme model, if you're familiar with that. The main differences are obviously the size. You can see this is much bigger. It's also much heavier, and it's a little bulkier. But what it does have is it does have onboard sensors. So there's like an altimeter in here and a barometer. And it does, more importantly, have maps. So you have online topo maps loaded on here. So if you're looking for a device that does mapping as well, this is an okay alternative. This has the same navigation drawbacks that the InReach Mini does, which I'll go over a little bit later. And you can also see on my review of the InReach Explorer, I have a full review on this device on my website and YouTube channel, so you can check that out too. Now, should you get this one or this one? I say it depends. If you go to the website, I lay out the arguments for when this is better than this. But for me, I've been using this, and this takes care of most of my needs. And I have other devices that I do navigation with, so I haven't used the Explorer since I got this, but it might be right for you. So go to the website and check out the rationales there, and do with them what you will. All right, so let me walk you through the device itself. Now on the back, it comes with this little loop fastener here, and it comes with a carabiner that you can hook in there and hook it onto your gear. I usually put it in a pocket on my gear, but you can do what you need to do. There's also a lanyard attachment, and you can use this hex wrench here, this bolt, to take it off and put a spine adapter on. So if you have a Garmin accessory that uses spine adapters, like they have, I think, bike mounts and backpack mounts, you can do that there, but I don't need it. On the top, the power button, and you just hold that in, power it up, and there we go. On the side, on the left side, you have up and down. So basically this is how you go through the menus. On the right side, you have OK, which selects, and you have the back button, which goes back. Then you have SOS, which is under a cover. Hard to do with one hand. There we go. There we go. There you can see it. So you don't accidentally hit it, and that has never popped open. And there, the unit is on. And that's it. And you can see, I don't have big hands. I have pretty normal hands. It's a pretty small piece of gear. So the way the screens work is you go up and down with these buttons here. You have the home screen, you have messages, you have check for messages, you have tracking, you have your position while you're moving, you have your Bluetooth connection, and you have your weather. Now on the home screen, if you hit the OK button, you can get to most of the common functions pretty quickly, like a preset or tracking. They're all right here, which comes in handy. And to get back, you just hit the back button. So backcountry messaging is the main reason why I use the InReach Mini. For other people, it might be other reasons, but that's what my focus is with this device. But the thing is, you can't just pop it out of the box and start sending messages. You have to go online and sign up for a subscription. It's not too much of a hassle. I'll show you that in a second, but you do have to do it. There are multiple plans, including professional plans. If you have like a group of people out in the field and you need to send group messages or track people, you can do that. The plans range, and they basically range in cost based on how much data you will use. So for me, I can get away with the least expensive plan, which is under $15 a month, and it allows me to send unlimited preset messages and a certain number of like regular text messages, which are more ad hoc. If you want to see how much you've used, there's a screen on here where you can actually go and see what you've used, almost like the old cell phone plans where you had to keep track of the number of text messages you sent. Same thing here. So on the website, I have links to the subscriptions and kind of my thoughts on what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, but they're affordable. And when you think about it, you know, whether it's the cost of this device as a whole or whether it's a $15 a month fee, if it means saving your life or not, it doesn't really matter, right? It's worth $15 a month. So anyway, let's take a look. So when you first come to the website here, you're going to pick a plan type and you go in here, and then it will ask you for an IMEI number and authorization code. Now when you first power the device up, you will get that code and it'll be on the screen. You just enter them here, accept the terms, sign up for an account, pick your plan, and then the device will sync. Now you're going to want to sync it with the EarthMate app. I'll talk about that a little bit later as well, so all of your contacts sync in, but this is how you get started. Now when you've signed up, this is the screen that you get. This is basically your Explore website where you can set up all the aspects of the device, and there's some overview here in Home. There's also a map where you can set up navigation, different waypoints and routes and tracks. You have an inbox, so this mimics your inbox on your device. You have contacts, so what you're going to want to do here is put all of the contacts that you're going to want to send messages to in here, and you can just do add and add their information there. Messages is important, so this is where you're going to set up your preset and quick text. Now the preset messages are the ones that are free with every plan, and you can send unlimited ones, and you can go in there. I have it set up to be these three. You can do whatever you want. You can just edit them and put the different numbers you want in there, and you can also include a link to a map or not. If you don't want to share that, you don't have to. And then there's quick text, which is here, and you can add as many quick text messages as you want. And these work when you're typing a regular text message. So these aren't free or unlimited as included in the plan, depending on your plan, but you can add a bunch of them. So if you have things that you always say and you don't feel like typing it out by hand, which I'll show you in a little bit, you can just write them in here. So that's handy. And then you can also connect your Facebook and Twitter accounts, and you can make your map share page public. So I'll show you that in a second, what that looks like. And then there's the account page, and this is where all of the details are, where your devices are. And you can see you can change your plan. Now there's two plans. There's a Freedom and an Annual. With the Freedom, you can upgrade it or downgrade it, and you can do different tests and all of that fun stuff. But that's all on here. One thing of note, if you want to sign up for insurance, and I talk about the insurance on the website, so go check it out. You can opt into that here on your account plan, and it'll just bill you for the extra on top of your subscription. Sending a preset message is pretty easy. You just hit the OK button from the main screen, and there it is, the first item. And there are the 3 preset messages that I had set up online. And then I just hit OK, send, and it sends. So when there's that little arrow pointing up, that means it is trying to send to a satellite. And when the message is sent successfully, I'll get a little auditory alert that it happened, and I'll also won't see that up arrow anymore. There's the alert. So pretty quick. Again, it depends on the area you're in, whether it goes quick or not, but that's a preset message. Now, if you don't want to send a preset message, you can send a freeform message. You just go into Messages, which is one screen down, hit OK, go to New Message, select your contacts, and you can post this to your social feeds, to a public map share page, or send it to an email, an SMS, and there's little icons on the side, or even another inReach device, which is that little IR. So let's send it to my text, go back. Now you can write the message by hand, or you can pick quick text, and this quick text is stuff that you define online and syncs with your phone. Kind of like a preset message, but a little bit different in the fact that it counts as a text message. So let's select this. Then I can send it or not. Now let's do a message that I'm going to type out for you. Sorry for the airplane noise there. Part of living in California. So select contacts. Let's send it to my phone. And then hit back. And then I'm going to do write message this time instead. Now in this case, I'm going up and down with these rockers and selecting the letter. And I can do this little shortcut where I can hold the OK button down and I get autocomplete, which is handy. But you can see this is a bit of a pain. So let me back out of this, and then just to send it, it's pretty straightforward. You save, send, and there we go. It's sending. One of the things I actually do like about pairing your phone with it is that you can use your phone as a way to type in messages. And you can put in custom recipients, so you can type phone numbers in. And you can also select from your contacts and put, a contact email or phone number right in here, which is handy. And once you have your contacts in there, you can just type a message using your keyboard on your phone, which is also handy. So if you're doing a lot of text messages, and occasionally I do, this is a handy feature. You can enable your location, and you can even have access to your quick text here. And you just basically send it, and it sends right through your Mini. So cool feature to have if you are going to use your phone. Now after you send, you get this little spinning indicator telling you that it is broadcasting, and then that little crosshairs when it is done. When someone receives your message, it looks like a regular text message, and you just click on that link there, and you can see it loads the topo map, and somebody can just go on there and zoom in and see exactly where you are. And the topo maps are pretty nice. There's a decent level of detail on them as well. And if somebody wants to reply to you, they simply reply to the text message or email, and it will go directly back to your device. They don't need any kind of special equipment to do that. Just send it as normal. So then if you want to check for messages, it's pretty straightforward. You just go down through the menus here, and you can see there is a last check for messages. This will do this automatically for you, so it'll give you a little alert when a message comes in, but you can also do it manually. So I'm going to hit OK. And it says checking mail. I get that little wait graphic. And there, I got the message, and it's come in. It'll also be in my messages section. So if I go up, there's messages. I can click in there. I can click into it. There's the message. I can reply back. I can delete the thread. Now, one thing to note, if you reply to a preset message, it does count as a text message. And if you receive a preset message, or if you receive a reply on your device, it counts as a text message. So I just tell my family not to text me back if I send a preset, and then I avoid charges there. So good to know. So this uses the Iridium satellite network, which has 100% coverage on Earth, which is better than Globalstar, which the Spot uses. It only works, though, if you have a clear line of sight to the sky. And it doesn't have to be totally clear. There can be trees around you, but generally if you're like in a canyon or if you're, in a deep valley or in dense woods, it might have trouble sending a message or receiving a message. Now, if you do send a message in a situation like that, it'll continue to try to send messages until it goes through. Very cool, but the downside of that is it burns your battery down quicker. So if you are in a situation like that, you might just want to find a place that's has a clear line of sight and send your message to avoid killing the battery too much. But overall, it's worked really well for me. Most messages go through in a minute or two, and the speeds are, not great, but it's a satellite device. It's not like a broadband connection or a phone connection even, where it just pops in and out. But that's how you use it. And when you actually first start it up, there's a test function, and it'll send a test message and give you a test message back. And generally, I'll do that when I first start a hike, just because I want to make sure that my credit card didn't expire or whatever, that it's working essentially. So test the device before you use it. It takes a minute or two, but it ensures that you have coverage when you're out there. Now, since you can message with your friends and family, you can also message with emergency officials. And when you sign up for this, I mentioned earlier, you have a GEOS search and rescue subscription. Now, to trigger a search and rescue, it's pretty simple. You just hit one button and you can cancel it. But here's the thing. If you're going to trigger a search and rescue, you need to really, really think about it. These are great for hikers, but a lot of search and rescue people don't like these beacons or two-way communicators, because there's stories out there of people doing it when they have a stomach ache, when they have a sprained ankle. And what happens is when you trigger emergency, you're essentially putting all of the rescuers into a situation where they're risking their lives to save you. And most rescues, unlike what you've seen on the news, don't involve a helicopter swooping down and picking you up in a bucket and taking you out in a couple minutes. Most rescues take, a bunch of hours, 6 or more hours, and usually have people coming up carrying a stretcher and carrying you out on a stretcher, or helping you walk out, or self-evacuate is what they say. So before you hit the SOS button, seriously consider, is it necessary, or can I self-evacuate here? So SOS is pretty straightforward. You can trigger one from the EarthMate app, or you can just pop this cover open and you hold the button down and you get that little alert. It gives you 20 seconds to cancel. If you want to cancel, you just hit the back button. You can also cancel after you've already sent by holding the button in for 20 seconds. That will send a cancellation to GEOS as well. Another great feature on the InReach Mini are the weather reports. And they kind of work like a text message, right? You send your location and it goes to Dark Sky, which is a really good weather service. If you have their app, they make an app for smartphones and they have a website. It's really great. I use a bunch of them, and that I found is generally the most accurate. So I'm glad it's on here. But you send the message with your position, and then you get back a weather report. Now you can also send a different position. So if I'm, say, starting here today and I want to get the weather report for the destination, maybe it's a backpacking trip, I can put that in if I have it as a waypoint on the phone, and I can get it for a waypoint on here, which I'll talk about a little bit later, setting waypoints. So there's a few flavors of weather reports that you can get. You can get a basic one, and a basic weather report is free, except that it counts as a text message. So if you have a text message allowance of 10 messages a month, it'll count as one. Not a big deal. And that'll give you basically a current conditions and a forecast, and you can drill down a certain amount out on an hourly level. If you go to the website, I break out exactly what you get and exactly what intervals, so you can take a look there. There's also a premium weather report, which costs you $1 in addition to a text message, and that has a longer forecast and a more granular breakdown of conditions, like hourly. And then if you're by a large body of water, you can also request a marine forecast, which gives you some marine weather data in addition to the regular weather data, so like wave height and things like that. All right, let's get a weather report. So for that, we just go down. Now the first thing we're going to do is set our location. So I'm going to hit OK to get my location. I'm going to update. And then I'm also going to choose the type of forecast that I want. So let's get a premium forecast. Now we have to wait, and that little icon will be on there while it is requesting the forecast. And there we go. Gives me some top line information, and that's also on the home screen here. Now I have the 70 degrees. If I click into this, you can see I can scroll through the days, which is handy. And then within the day, if I hit OK, so let's see for today. For today, I have an hourly breakdown of the conditions. Then I can click into one of those hours and get some detailed specs on the forecast. Pretty cool. You can also check out the weather on your EarthMate app, and it gives you a nice color display. Same information. So you can use the InReach Mini for navigation as well. Now on the device itself, it's pretty limited. I'll show you that in a second. But you can pair it up with the EarthMate app, which is available for Android and iOS. And it's a Bluetooth connection. It'll connect with the app, and the app allows you to download maps or load them in real time and plot your position on a detailed topo map, which is really, really handy. Now, I don't use that as my primary means of navigation. If you go to the website, I talk all about what I use, but it's nice to have for a backup. So if my phone and my dedicated GPS and my smartwatch die, I can also use this for navigation with GPS precision in the backcountry. Very cool. I know some folks who do basically ultralight, they want to keep things as minimal as possible. And for them, it's a good match to have this and the smartphone, because they're carrying the smartphone anyway. They can plot their position on this. It does drain your battery down on your phone and the device. Using Bluetooth takes a marginal amount. I think I figured out a small percentage that it is. It's on the website. But you can use it. So very cool. You do need the EarthMate app to do that. So go to the website and you can get the links for that. Now, one of the functions I actually use quite a bit that I didn't count on is this navigation feature, which is the latitude and longitude. So I changed the display to show degrees, minutes, and seconds, and I can plot myself on a paper map, which is handy. You'll notice it also has elevation. That's the elevation based on your GPS signal. So it's not an altimeter on board here, it's a calculation that it does. It also gives you the screen, and it'll tell you your movement and your direction. And again, this is not based on a sensor. This is based on your GPS position. So it's just figuring out the direction and the speed based on plotting GPS courses here. Now the map page is handy because this is where you're going to plan all of your routes or set your waypoints and then sync it to the device. So waypoints are pretty straightforward. And you can see here we have little tools to do that. So I can add a waypoint at the trailhead, and we'll call this trailhead, and it will show up when I sync my device. Now, if you want to do a route is just a series of waypoints. So let's choose the route tool. And the thing about it is I have to manually go over this if I want it to follow the trail. So it won't automatically snap to the trail like planning a course will on a Phoenix. But still handy. And yeah. So that's how you do the routes. You can also change the different maps on this. Different map layers. So it's handy. So let me show you some of the navigation functions here. You can mark a waypoint and you just go like here, and you can edit the symbol, the name. You can also change the coordinates. Now this is handy if you want to go to a waypoint. You can manually put it in here, which comes in handy. So you don't have to be in a place to mark a waypoint. We'll just hit done, and there our waypoint is marked. Now we can also navigate to a waypoint or follow a route. So let me go navigate, and there's waypoints and routes. And let me go to, here's one that's 0.2 miles away. Navigate. and now it's just tell me to go in this direction. There you can see I've got a little compass, and if I turn around, it's telling me I am doing the wrong thing. And that's how it works. It's a straight line to the next waypoint, so it won't keep you on the trail like a Garmin Fenix will, but it's still handy. And if you do a route, it's really just a series of waypoints on here. If you're paired with your EarthMate app, you can also see your position on a topo map, and you can look at the different features there like waypoints, text messages, and other aspects of the map. The maps are cool because you can download them so you have them offline, so you don't need a cell connection, and you can quickly browse around and see other trails and other features on there. So if you wanted to drop a waypoint somewhere else, it's pretty easy to do, and then sync it back to your device. Another function on here is tracking. And I get a lot of emails from parents who have kids going on backpacking trips, and they say, how can I make sure my kids are safe and I know where they are when they're in the backcountry? This is great for that. So tracking is essentially sending your position over and over again so that somebody can go online, look on a map, and see your plot as you go. Obviously, it takes up more battery than not doing it. You can tweak some of the settings, and there is a power save setting that extends it. It also does tracking on the unit and tracking points that it sends. So if you want to save the route on the unit, you can do that as well. It's a neat feature. I don't use it much because I don't need my friends and family necessarily to know where I am at all points. Now, it is handy if I just had tracking on, if I had an unlimited plan where I could do tracking all the time. If something did happen to me, like I fell off a cliff and I was unconscious, rescuers could see right away like where my point, where my track ended. But I usually share a plan with my family to say, this is the route I'm taking. And then I use the preset messages, which are free, and also include a link to a topo map with your position on it. So if you send a bunch of preset messages at regular intervals, it sort of simulates the tracking function. But if you want to use tracking, it definitely works, and it's definitely a cool feature to have. But just be conscious of your battery. And if it can't find a satellite once again, and it keeps trying to send, and you're not in satellite range, it's going to run the battery down pretty quickly. So you just need to monitor and be conscious of that. So tracking's pretty straightforward. You just go to the screen called tracking, and you hit OK to start it, and it'll tell you the intervals, and you start hiking or walking or doing whatever, and it will track you. Now you can go in here and change. You can stop it. You can send your position now. It'll tell you how many points have been sent. You can also go set it up and change the interval, which is handy if you want to save the battery. And this is the internal logging, so you can change this as well. You can also turn that off. If you don't care about saving the track and you just want to send it to other people, just turn it off. It doesn't matter. Auto track will automatically come on when you turn the unit on, which generally you never want. An extended tracking is a battery saving mode where in between tracking points, it will basically put the unit to sleep. So that can come in handy if you do want to track, but you want to do it on a longer interval and save your battery. Now, these are what tracks look like online, and this is obviously a sailing example. It looks like a powerboat here, but you can see the device will periodically send tracking points. So if you want to follow somebody, all you have to do is just go to the web page. That's the public map share page, and you can set that public in your settings, and anyone can follow along and see your route as these little tracking points. Another neat feature of the online map share system is that you can see messages. So here you can see a hike of the Long Trail in Vermont, and if you click on one of these message points, which has a GPS fix in it so you can see where it happened, you can click on it and you can actually read the message. So if you want to check in periodically and give a little trail report, you can do that, which is a neat little feature. One of the new features on the inReach Mini is the ANT+ capability. And ANT+, if you don't know, is basically a sensor communication protocol. And you see it a lot on bikes, with whatever, power meters on bicycles and bike computers. What it's used for on the InReach Mini is to pair the Mini with a Fenix watch, or theoretically any other Ant Plus device, and it allows you to remote control the unit from your watch. So you can have your Fenix watch on and you can just send a preset message. Very cool feature. I never use it. It's not that much of a pain to take this little thing out of my pocket and just send the message off. But it's nice to have, and I'm sure there's some use cases where people find it handy. I usually turn the Ant Plus sensor off on here just to save some battery. So once you've paired the InReach, it'll just show up as a widget on the Fenix, and you can click into it and you can send messages. You can do some of the functions here, initiate an SOS. So kind of neat, but I don't use it at all. For such a small unit, this has great battery life. And if you don't think it's good, you just really need to feel how small this is in your hand. And if you want more battery, you can get the InReach Explorer, which is a much bigger and heavier unit. But if you use this with the default settings and you do tracking, you'll get 50 hours of tracking time with this on the default settings, which is a 10-minute send interval. Now, I usually don't leave my unit on. I will turn it off, and then when I want to send or check for messages or do weather, I'll just turn it on, get a fix, and start from there. If you leave the unit off, it has a 1-year battery life. Obviously, using it to send messages will drain some off of that, but it gives you an idea of, how long this can last. Now, if you are going to use it in an emergency situation, you're probably going to need more battery life than you normally do, right? You're going to have back and forth communications with search people. You want to send them your position. So that's why I leave it off. And I also turn off Bluetooth and I turn off Ant Plus if I'm not using it or syncing the phone. Because for me, this is really an emergency device. It's nice to send my family a message and tell them I'm okay, but I really want this for the time that if I step on a rattlesnake in the middle of nowhere and I need, a helicopter to come get me or something like that, that's when I want to have the battery life. But overall, the battery life is pretty good for a unit this size. It charges with a micro USB cable, which is pretty standard. And you can also recharge this with like a portable battery pack or a portable solar panel. So a nice option if you want to use it for an extended trip. If I was doing the PCT, or when I do the PCT someday, I could use this with a battery pack and probably get a couple weeks in between just sending a preset message, maybe midday and at the end of the day when I camp, which is cool. So that's the InReach Mini. I definitely recommend getting it. I wasn't going to buy this unit because I have an InReach Explorer, and before that I had the DeLorme, which I love and I've used, and it's a great tool to have in the backcountry. I got this to test it because people were asking me about it, but it turns out that I just use this one now. I don't use the other ones, and the Explorer might be a better option for you. Just go to the website and I kind of spell out when that would be the case. But I think for most people, the InReach Mini will be great. It's super small. It works all the time, unlike the Spot devices. If you want to know more about the Spot devices, just go to the article on my website for this, and I tell you why these Spot devices didn't work for me. But this is great. Worth every penny. If you're going to get it, I recommend getting it at REI. It's easy to return. If you don't like it, I doubt that, but if you don't like it, you can return it. You can get help there. You also get a membership dividend back on this, so the membership cost might be covered just by buying this, and they're generally good people. I also like to go to REI and read the reviews there to see how other people have used it. So if you click on the link in the article for REI or click on the link under the YouTube video, you'll be able to go there and check out other people's reviews, which could be helpful. Another thing is, if you're not on the website now watching this video, please go to hikingguy.com and read the article. I have tips for using this. I have links to everything I discussed here, and I have a setup guide for this. So I didn't go over all of that in the video because the video would be 500 hours long, but definitely go to the website. There's more helpful resources there. So that's the InReach Mini. Hope you enjoyed.